Hey, hello. So, just wondering, can you read this? I wrote this upside down. Pretty cool. Can you write this upside down? Anyway, let's move on. Miss Hensley's just being silly. Alright, so we're going to review, we got some factoring in here, but we're going to review completing the square. So, completing the square is where you can take your trinomial of your quadratic and you can write this result. That the value of b divided by 2 squared is the result of a times c. And these are your coefficients of your quadratic, or constants, a, b, and c. Okay? We'll see what that means here in a little bit, but just go ahead and write it down. And then let's practice some factoring. Alright, so we just did that in the last video, in our factoring refresher video. So we got to factor this out. So this one, for example, we're going to do our t-chart. So we put our last number here, and then our middle number here. So that's our c term, and that's our b term. C goes here, b here. Both positive, and then we ask ourselves, okay, what will multiply to get 16 and add to get 8? And that would definitely be 4 times 4 will give us 16, and then 4 plus 4 will give 4 plus 4 will give us the 8. Okay, so since that is the product that works, we could have tried 1 and 16, we could have tried 2 and 8, you know, different combinations, but that's just the combination that happens to work. So that means our factors are x plus 4 and x plus 4. So since both of these resulted in positive 4, these are our factors of this trinomial. Alright, why don't you go ahead and pause the video and practice these other 3 right here, see if you can get those. Okay, pause the video, press play when you are ready. Alright, so these are the solutions. M minus 9 and M minus 9, A plus 1 and A plus 1, and P minus 5 and P minus 5. So you notice that all of these came out to have the same 2 factors. Okay, so to see how that is going to treat us when we do this next skill. So the skill we're about to do is to go from standard form to vertex form. So all we're doing is changing the form of our quadratic. Okay, the standard form, standard is ABC, and then vertex form is always going to be this. It's going to have parentheses and then some value here, possibly in coefficient. So if the standard form equation is a perfect square, like example 1, you're going to simplify the factor to convert it to vertex form. If not, you can use a process called completing the square to write the equation in vertex form. So what you're going to do first is you're going to group your A and your B together in parentheses. If A is not equal to 1, you're going to factor the A outside so it becomes A in front of the rest of those values. After that, you will complete the square, which is that one formula up yonder, the one that I was referring to before. Let's see if I can draw this up here. Yes. That will be doing this formula. Oh, I have that drawn from the wrong place. Sorry. That's supposed to connect from this part right here. That will be your new C value, and then after that you're going to subtract A times C from the end of the equation, and then you're going to factor and simplify. So there's a lot of steps to this, so let's get started. Alright, we're going to write each function in vertex form. Let's do purple. Alright, so to start out, we group just our first 2 terms. And then we have our constant out back. Okay? Alright, next, we're going to complete the square by taking this value and dividing it by 2. Giving us 2. And then we square that value, giving us the 4. So again, in order to get this, we are going to, let's jot down what we did. Oh, no, okay. My computer was glitching or something. All right, what are we going to do with this 4? I want to change color. You're going to add it to the inside on our next step and subtract on the outside. And then we're going to multiply it times A. Okay. Alright. My computer's like being real slow right now. Maybe I have too many tabs open. Alright. So we're going to add this x squared plus 4x. This is what I do. I usually like leave a space here for my putting number inside. And then I carry down, I had the plus 4 on the outside. So all of this just comes from right up here. I'm going to take all that and rewrite it. But I got to leave a space. And again, I'm going to put a mark where I leave a space here. And then, of course, I can add my outside value just after everything. Let's go to blue now. So now that I've completed the square, I'm going to add this number inside. So add 4, and it happens to be the same as this and this. This won't always be the case, okay? It just happens to work out like this. So add this number to the inside and subtract it to the outside. And the reason we do that is because that value is really 0. If I add 4 and then subtract 4, I'm really adding 0. So I'm allowed to do this. But this is going to help me get into vertex form. And then if needed, I would multiply it by A, but there is no A, so I'm not too worried about it. Now I'm going to do this next step, and it's just going to simply factor this out. So this works out because I get the same two factors. So now you do your factors, and you get 4 and 4, and then that would be 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 plus 2 is 4. So your two factors result in 2 and 2, which is the whole reason we did this a second ago. You can also do this shortcut, okay? Instead of doing that, I would just do this. This is what I usually do. Now, this number right here, whatever you get there, oh, man, I shouldn't have made that purple. Should have made it something else. Excuse me. Alright, green. This number you get after you do the dividing by 2 part is the same number you're going to put here. Okay? So that is really nice. That's a shortcut to remember, and that's usually what I do. But just to show you, you're really just factoring this trinomial to get this. But the shortcut is this number and this number are the same. Alright, now I'm back to blue. So this value is squared, and then the plus 4 and minus 4, they end up canceling out and becoming 0. So I don't really need it, and then this is all that's left for my answer. So that is vertex form, and you can have plus 0 or minus 0, and that's the same thing, but the 0 is not really necessary. Okay, so that is the vertex form. Now, to get the vertex, all you have to do is take the opposite of this and this to get your vertex. You can also just graph it. For now, just graph it. And when you graph this, you get -2, 0 as the vertex. So there is another way to get the vertex, but I'm not as concerned about that right now. You can just get that in the calculator. Get the vertex of because these are all parabolas. Okay. Alright, so there's your 2. Alright, I'll go ahead and do another one, just to kind of get used to it. We're not going to do this for very long. We're not going to do the whole thing. X squared, so we split up the first two terms in parentheses from the third term. And then we take this value and divide by 2. So again, the formula I'm doing is the one up here at the top of the page. I'm taking my b value, dividing by 2, and then squaring it. Here's my b value divided by 2, giving me -4 in this case, and then I'm going to square it. -4 squared is 16. Remember, this is going to be my highlighted value from before, but I'm going to just go ahead and write down what I've got. X squared minus 8x. Now I'm going to leave a space and then put my 18 at the end. Now I take this value that I got, I add it to the inside, and I subtract it from the outside. Okay, next. I know it's going to be this value squared, so x minus 4. Let me highlight that. This value will be the same as this value. And then out here, I simplify this. Positive 18 minus 16 is still a positive 2. And then that is my resulting equation in vertex form. And then if I want the vertex, you can graph it. I'll just show you the shortcut real quick. You take the opposite of this number. That's your x value. Opposite of minus 4 is positive 4. And then you take this value, and that's your y value. So that's how you can quickly get. And that's why they call it vertex form, is because you can quickly get the vertex from this form. Okay? So I know on the parabola, like when I graph this, that's my vertex. Over 4, up 2, and then there's a couple other things. If it's negative, it'll be down, but basically it'll be like that. So it's just a way to graph it. This form helps you graph it easier, and you could see it on the SOL tests and different tests. Okay? All right. I think you can... No, we need to do one of these. Oh, just kidding. I was hoping you could do one. I should have let you do that one on your own. Oh, well. It's okay. Let's do another one. Alright, now, what's different about this one is the coefficient is not 1. So when that happens, we have to take that out as well. So we're going to split this up and take out a -1, and then we have to take out a negative of each of these. So we want these to be positive, okay, in here. So if I took out a -1, and I also have to take out a negative from here, making this a negative. So just to show you, verify why that we have to do that. If you multiply it back in, you get a negative x squared, and then you get a positive 6x, which is correct. So whenever you take out a negative, you got to change the sign of everything that you put here in the parentheses. Okay, now we're going to continue with the completing the square. So doing this, we're going to do the -6. -6 divided by 2 is -3. And -3 squared is 9. So now I'm going to result in, and you don't have to keep the 1, I'm just going to go ahead and drop it. Leave room for my third term. And then I add this on the inside. And minus it on the outside. Now, what the trick here is you have to include this negative out here. So putting it here on the inside is going to be okay, but when I minus the 9 on the outside, I really haven't multiplied it by this -1 that I pulled out. So I have to multiply this times -1 because of right here, because of my -1 right there. So that's what's going to happen whenever you have this a coefficient. You're going to multiply it by a. So 9 times negative 1 is minus negative 9. So I'm still subtracting, but I have to make this now a negative 9. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and keep my sign. So this trinomial now becomes a binomial, and that binomial is whatever was right here. So it's x minus 3, and then that becomes squared. And then this right here, negative 5, becomes a plus 9. Negative 5 plus 9 is plus 4. So negative x, let me make sure I got it right. Yes. Alright, and then that would be in vertex form. So there's an extra step when that coefficient, or that a value is not 1. In these ones, the a value was a 1. As you can see in number 4, the a value is, again, not 1. So we're going to have to take that 2 out front like we did the negative 1, and then the extra step will be we multiply this negative 2 times whatever this value is. So now, you could take out factors, but you might think that at first, but this does not divide by 2. You'd be like, these two divide by 2, but this doesn't. So we can't take out a GCF right away. So we do have to just go ahead and start completing the square. Why don't you go ahead and try this one, pause the video, and then press play when you're ready to see the answer. So, our solutions, I didn't put the vertex on number 3, but it's the opposite of this number, and then the same as this number, so that'd be 3 and 4. This one kind of starts looking out the same as what was in parentheses on number 3. You get negative 3 squared equals 9. Alright, so you add the 9 on the inside, and then you're going to subtract the 9 out here, except you're going to go ahead and multiply by a. So 9 times a, which was this value 2, is 18. So you're subtracting the product of b and a, or this value in a, sorry. This changes, this value here becomes a minus 3 squared, and this reduces to 13 minus 18 is minus 5. So this is your result in vertex form. The opposite of this is positive 3, and then this value we keep the same, make that negative 5, and on your graph, 3 and negative 5 would be the coordinate of your vertex. So that is all we're going to do on this page. And you can use the back to practice any more if you need to. That's just optional. Okay? So the next video will contain, if you want these answers, just message me and let me know if you want the answers to those, and I'll send them to you. And we will continue on with the next section in a later video. Alright, have a good one!